Good day and welcome back. I want to talk about what I believe is the most misunderstood topic in horsemanship. And I did do a lengthy series, actually did a three-part series on this, but that was a few years ago and not everybody goes back that far. And just recently, one of my viewers suggested that I do another video on the subject. So I thought, hey, why not? It doesn't hurt to revisit things again. And especially with this particular topic, because it's extremely important, probably one of the most important ones, in my opinion, and it's also probably one of the most misunderstood ones. Yes, you're a very nice little horse. And we're going to talk about, as soon as I mention what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bet there's a lot of people that are probably going to turn this one off because a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth about it because it's been misrepresented so much and there's so much misinformation about it. And it's two things that are very, very closely tied together, and that's leadership and hierarchy, both of which I believe are essential and both of which are horribly misunderstood. And this kind of ties into another video I just did recently where I talked about the importance of hierarchy and leadership. And I was a little discouraged by the fact that there's still people out there promoting the fact that it doesn't need to be in horsemanship at all. There's a number of different camps on the subject. Some will dispute actually who the leader is and that sort of thing. And well, I don't really care. That's not important as long as you understand there is a leader and there is a hierarchy, and the two are very closely connected because the leader has to be at the top of that hierarchy in order to be the leader. And but it's one of those things that a lot of people are just really got it messed up because they either think leadership does not belong in horsemanship, because you'll hear a lot of people talk about being the higher horse, which is important. But I think they probably fail a lot of people by using the term horse when they say you got to be the higher horse, because one of the favorite arguments of people is that, well, you're not a horse and the horse knows you're not a horse and therefore you cannot be the higher horse. Well, I don't think that's true at all. Well, yes, it is partly true. The horse is definitely smart enough to know I'm not a horse. But it does not mean that I cannot be higher than them. And this goes back to something else I've talked about, is moving the feet. Now, in leadership, or hierarchy that is determined in a herd by simply who moves who. It's a very simple way of doing it. But if I make him move, then I'm automatically higher than him right then and there. So my hierarchy is determined very simply. But people do get way too obsessed with this move the feet. And, well, part of the problem is how they go about it. And, the same with leadership, too, because a lot of people mistake leadership for being a bully, and they use phrases like dominance and alpha, which neither belong in a herd and neither belong with leadership, because a good leader, well, what would you like as a good leader? What kind of a leader would you want? Would you want somebody standing off in the corner barking orders at you, telling you what to do, and threatening to whip you if you don't do it? No, that's not a leader. He's not in my books, and certainly not somebody I would want to even be around. But a good leader is somebody that's going to stand in front of you and say, hey, come on, follow me. I'm going to keep you safe. Doesn't matter. We can do it. Let's go. You encourage them. You strengthen them. You're not a bully. You're not dominating them. No. A leader, actually, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible, but it's a really complex topic. But one of the things that I think really messes people up, and even if you're not a practicing Christian, I think a lot of people get this idea that we can be dominant over all animals, because in the Bible it says that God gave us dominion over the animals. But if you actually look up the definition of the word dominion, it's your domain, it's your responsibility, you are the caretaker. doesn't mean you're the boss of them. It means you are responsible to look after them. Completely different. And that's what a good leader is. If you look at wild herd is usually the best example because it's a very natural environment. The leader is generally the one that is the most sleep deprived because they spend most time awake looking out for the herd, being the watchdog, protecting their herd. They also are the last to eat because, and so they're borderline malnourished because they always make sure the other horses eat first. Because a couple of their jobs is, aside from the protector, they're also responsible to make sure the horse gets food and good grazing, and they will lead them around and make sure that they get that. And quite often in the process will forego doing it themselves in an attempt to make sure the herd is looked after. And the fact that they're a bit of a protector and a watchdog over the herds is one of the reasons that the rest of the herd feels good with a good leader, a strong leader. Because, well, you can see these horses like to be with me. Why? Because I'm a good leader. They feel safe and secure with me because they know I'm going to provide for their needs and I'm going to take care of them and I'm going to protect them. I'm not going to stand back bullying them, making them do something that's going to scare the crap out of them or maybe hurt them. No, that's not good leadership. But leadership is absolutely essential because, as I said in the other video, is one of the things about being a good leader. I emphasize good because it's easy to think you're a leader and not actually be one. But if you're a good leader, you end up with very, very calm horses like this. Now, in order to be a leader, you have to be a little bit assertive, self-confident. You have to be able to say, hey, with firmness but fairness, I'm asking you to do something and you better do it. But of course, you got to make sure before you do that, that you make sure the horse knows how to do it and what you want. You can't just demand things that the horse doesn't know. It doesn't work that way. But, if you're a good leader, they feel calmer around you. They're more willing to do things because they know you're going to keep them safe. You're not going to get them into trouble. You're going to protect them or provide for them. And they're naturally attracted to you. Now, going back, some people have a little trouble with that stuff because they just lack a little bit of self-confidence and they don't have that assertiveness that is necessary to be a leader. And I should also mention, too, that when it comes to being a leader, you don't have to be the leader of the whole herd. Now for me, I've kind of got it down to it's pretty easy for me. I can go out into a herd of 30, 40 horses. I'm the leader. But you don't have to do that. You simply have to be the leader for your horse, which means, and this is going back to why the hierarchy and leadership are connected so tightly, is because you don't necessarily have to be the herd leader. You just have to be higher than your horse in order to be its leader. So the only horse you got to worry about is your horse. So if you get one horse that sees you as being higher, you got it made. You're its leader when it's just you and it. If there's only two of you and you're the higher one, well, you're automatically the leader. But again, leadership is a responsibility. It's not a right. It doesn't give you the right to bully them around and dominate them and boss them around and all this nonsense that so many people think is part of leadership. And the reason that is so misunderstood is because there's so many bad examples of it. And I've seen a lot of people that have taught leadership in examples that were so horrible. If that was what I based my opinion of leadership on, I wouldn't want anything to do with it. And I think that's probably why a lot of people out there don't want anything to do with it, is because they've seen so many bad examples. And, then they teach people that buy into it and think that's what being a leader is. And then they set bad examples again, and more people see that. And next thing you know, you got an awful lot of people out there that have got a completely wrong idea of what leadership is. And as a result, they have problems with their horses too. And I see it all the time, horses that are just jumpy and nervous and just a real handful. It's because they're not good leaders. And, that's why you got to be a good leader. And of course, it's also all these bad examples. Another thing, some guys, so many people out there do not want to even hear that word. They will stop listening the minute they hear it. To the point that I've noticed a trend. A lot of pretty good horseman trainers don't use the word. They will teach in their clinics and such virtually every aspect of leadership that is necessary to be a good leader and to be higher than your horse. But they will never once mention the word. Probably good reason for that, because otherwise people will get turned off. And they don't actually realize what they're learning is leadership. They're learning correct leadership most of the time. But like I said, leadership, probably the most misunderstood topic in all of horsemanship, but it's probably also one of the most important ones, at least the hierarchy part, because you have to be higher than the horse that you're with. And, well, you see how calm my horses are here. I mean, they're pretty chill. They're not much of a hazard at all. Well, that didn't just happen. That's because I'm a good leader. That's why they're like this. And a lot of people get a little worried about being around horses, get a little intimidated by them because, even these ones, they aren't all that big, but, they're about 15 hands, about 1,200 pounds. These two over here, those ones are a little smaller, but, and lots of people are riding horses that are 16, 17, 18 hands high, huge. Very intimidating if you don't have the confidence you need to be a good leader. But once you become a good leader, this is what you get. And that's one of the reasons it's important, is even if you are a little bit lacking in the confidence department, after you get that leadership working good, this is what you get. You get a horse that trusts you. It's not going to be jumpy and spooky and dancing around every time you get near it. It's going to be quite happy to be with you. See this guy coming over to me? As soon as he wants to be with me. Why? Because I'm a good leader to him. He trusts me. He's happy with me. He feels comfortable with me. A little too comfortable sometimes, but I'll work on that. It's not a big deal. Same with that one. But, different personalities make a difference in how clingy they are, that sort of thing, too. But I cannot emphasize enough the importance of leadership, and good leadership, not just what bad examples that a lot of people are setting. Good leadership, very, very, very important. Getting it right, just as important. Have a good day.